They did tests and they found a malignant brain tumor bigger than a golf ball. I'm laying in the hospital bed. It came to me, this is an unexpected opportunity. I accepted the diagnosis. I denied any prognosis based on statistics, and I claimed my divine prognosis, which is 100% healing.
Cynthia Kersey is the best-selling author of Unstoppable and the founder of the Unstoppable Foundation, impacting over 500,000 lives. On this episode of the Heart Leader podcast, she reveals how she navigated a devastating diagnosis with expectant faith and the transformative power of generosity. Learn how shifting from fear to giving can create miracles in your own life and ripple out to change the world.
The goodness of God is running after you. I declared that I was going to have a year of giving, that it all happened during my year of giving. Then I met the love of my life, started my foundation. It's just like, wow, this stuff works. Generosity doesn't take away the challenges, but it informs and impacts the way you move through them. I call it a 21-day experiment. So I would say, try it. And it's not about being grandiose. It could be literally giving a tip, being generous. It's a way of being.
Hey, Heart Leader community, if you're liking this video, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe. It is incredible to see you, such an inspirational person, Cynthia. You are someone who healed from what is really a terminal diagnosis in a way that really, to continue on with the mind-blowing realies, in a way that most people would say is an impossible way to heal. So, are you willing to talk about what your diagnosis was and how you found your own path to healing in a way that doctors would even kind of go, how in the world did you do that?
Well, first off, great to see you. And I would love to share because so often our circumstances can feel overwhelming and daunting. And basically last July, I just got back from taking a whole group of people to Kenya to visit our projects with the Unstoppable Foundation. And literally days later, I had this kind of weird feeling. And my husband was in Japan doing a workshop. And I called my neighbor and she kind of checked me out. She's like, I think you're fine, but if it happens again, you got to call 911. And I'm like, really? And it happened again in the morning and I was meditating and it was just this odd, it's subtle. And I called 911 and she followed me to the emergency room. And the bottom line is they did tests and they found a malignant brain tumor bigger than a golf ball. And then, as if that's not enough, it was diagnosed as glioblastoma, which is it's like, honestly, it's the top 3 worst cancers you can get. And they basically gave me no hope. And it was shocking. It was shocking. And literally, Amber, I'm laying in the hospital bed and I couldn't even grok a brain tumor, right? A malignant brain tumor. And it came to me, this is an unexpected opportunity. And I know it sounds crazy, but I believed it because it's like all of, the work that I've been doing and like that you do, right? There was a moment. And I believe that life doesn't happen to us, but for us. Even when it's challenging, and I've had other really challenging things, and in retrospect, it did serve me. And I just held that belief. And believe me, there were times when I was afraid, where I would forget that it was actually, I forgot that, and I'd be like scared and maybe crying. And my husband would remind me, like, oh, right, this is an unexpected opportunity. So I looked for the opportunity. And the way that I worked with my diagnosis is, first off, I accepted the diagnosis. I denied any prognosis based on statistics, and I claimed my divine prognosis, which is 100% healing. And so that's kind of how I operated. And it took a lot of rigor. It did. I mean, I was like, and even this morning I was doing my, my time, my quiet time. But I really worked. My word for that year and the year before was faith. And the word for the year that I had the diagnosis was expectant faith. So it's like next level faith. And so I just really honestly got into that and looked at, well, what is my faith in? What is my faith in? And I went back to my roots, and it was like, what is my faith in? The creator and to God. Like, God is bigger than this. So I kind of got back into that. And then I listened to CeCe Winans, who is this amazing gospel singer, and her music touched me so profoundly. There's this one song. It's called Believe For It. And it's like, it says, you said it, meaning God said it. I believed it. You said it. It is done. And it's like as simple as that. And, in the scriptures, it says you only need faith the size of a mustard seed. And I thought, I can muster that. I've got that level of faith at minimum. So I would listen to her. I would cry. My whole body sometimes would like sob, at how much that music touched my heart. And I mean, yeah, and I did a lot of things too. So like I did Sauna Vive, I did functional medicine, and I also did traditional. I had radiation and chemotherapy because the level of a diagnosis that I had, and they knew that my tumor responded, they got the DNA, they knew it would respond to it. So we just checked in. My friend always says, you're the highest authority. You got to do what you really are feeling guided. And I didn't want to do that, but I felt guided to do it. And I am less than a year later, I was diagnosed as cancer-free, in remission. And I have two oncologists, the main one, that gave me no hope. He's like, your scan looks amazing. Go and live your life. And he didn't ask me any questions about what I did, which I think is kind of odd because as an oncologist, wouldn't you want to know someone who actually overcame something? Like, what did they do? It was interesting. But I think that's in a nutshell. And I met you, I think, when I was going through some of this process. And it's changed my life for the better. It was an unexpected opportunity. It was. And it's like, I'm a different person. My faith is so much deeper.
Hi, my name is Amber Mikesell. I am the author of this best-selling book, Silence Your Inner Critic, and I am so happy to announce that we have won 2 silver awards from the Book Fest. You can get your copy of this amazing best-selling award-winning book delivered right to your door by clicking the link below in the show notes. All you have to do is pay shipping, and you'll get not only the book, but $200 worth of free gifts, all delivered directly to you. Having met you as you were coming through the other side, to be able to feel how you were, hey, this is something that happened for me, not something that happened to me, not something that weighed on me, but this is really a gift that helped me see the potential, not just for me, but for all of us. And I just had the gift of being able to see that, hey, somebody could have told me what was possible for me, But instead, I chose what was possible for me and what was possible through me.
Exactly.
And I sat there as you were telling me all of these things that you navigated, like nurses and doctors would come into your room and you were just so excited to get to know all of these lovely people that you wouldn't have gotten to know otherwise. There were all these gifts that you saw through the whole process, and you saw them as gifts, and you were grateful for all of them.
That's exactly right. I was writing my book, The Generosity Effect,
Yeah.
in the midst of all of this. And there's 4 steps to the the effect. And number 1 is gratitude, right? So it's like, even in the midst of this kind of a diagnosis, and my husband wasn't there, and I knew I was going to have brain surgery, to remove the tumor. There was so much to be grateful for, those doctors and nurses and every practitioner, and my heart would be filled with gratitude. And then the next step is, how can I be a blessing to someone else? And so, of course, I expressed it. Thank you. And like, I was just looking for, how could I make their day? And how could I connect and listen to them? And then the third is to receive. Oh, the fourth is, no, I'm sorry. The second is to be generous with yourself. So first is gratitude, then be generous with yourself. So I would listen to music. I would listen to things. I would pray. I would take care of myself, right? Because you can't have anything to give if you're not feeding yourself. And then it was, how can I be generous to somebody else? And then the fourth is generously receive. So I had a friend who started a prayer group. I asked her, would she get some people to pray for me? And literally, I was so humble. And like, the first call I could do is cry. I was so humbled that people would take their time. I mean, I knew I was loved, but I didn't know I was that loved, right? And it's kind of it's intense to receive it, but it's like, I see it now. And CC Winans has a song called The Goodness of God. The goodness of God is running after you. And every good thing, including my incredible husband, I see it as the goodness of God is running after me through the form of Blaine Ellen Bartlett, my husband, or through this prayer circle, or through getting to meet you and know you. And it's next level gratitude, right? When you see it as like divinely inspired to be a blessing to me. It's like, thank you, God. Thank you for this, right? It's very, very powerful, and it shifts your vibration. If I would be in that hospital, feeling sorry for myself, being angry, and I'm not saying those are bad emotions, right? I'm not saying that. It's just, it's not generative. It wasn't where I was sad, but that was my main feeling and emotion, was sadness and fear. So I worked with that, and I gave a voice to it. I didn't, make it wrong. But then these other things allowed me to lean into my faith.
And I would say that's, for me personally, in my experience, that's such a key element too, because it would be easy to suppress fear or sadness or those emotions that we feel are going to be bad and maybe hold us down or hold us back. But that can also make it worse, right?
Definitely. And my word is inspiration. Like, that's what I live for and live from. And when I was on the call and I'm crying, I'm thinking, oh, Cynthia, the inner critic. Yeah, you're really inspiring. That was that voice. And I even said it to them, and they're like, you are inspiring us. First off, you're being authentic, and we're able to travel this journey with you, and they're able to give to me. So they were receiving. That is the generosity effect. It's kind of how it works. And so it really takes the pressure off. It's like, I don't have to be anything except how I'm feeling authentically in that moment. Like, that's perfect. That's pretty powerful.
It's incredibly powerful because how many of us stifle ourselves and then prolong our healing journey because we're so busy stifling ourselves through our own healing.
Right. Or judging, right? Judging ourselves or, yeah.
Yeah, or the situation. And you were so transparent when we connected and you're sharing your story. And through that, I got to learn from you. And then you're telling me each layer of how you did it, from nurturing your own mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. You didn't leave a single layer of your beingness out of the equation. How did you get to a space where you knew to do that? And how did you get to a space where you knew what to do at each of those layers?
So that's a very good question. And so years ago, I think it was 2011, I was running, what was I doing? I got to get the right timing.
You're like, "Oh, so much of my life."
But I decided, I know it's like the
Yeah.
timing, but I decided, I'd been talking about generosity and I was doing my unstoppable book and, talking about being unstoppable. And I was really turned on by generosity. And I thought, what would happen if I lived a whole year generously every single day? So I declared that I was going to have a year of giving. So those 4 steps evolved naturally. So, I would wake up and I would just thank you, God, right? Like just to kind of get into it. I don't even know that I said thank you, God, then, in all honesty. But it was just, I'm so happy and grateful now that, Bob Proctor was a big mentor and they talk a lot about gratitude. So I would start the day in gratitude and then look for how can I be a blessing. It just all kind of evolved. And they're little things, one of them was I was at lunch in Marina Del Rey in a Mexican restaurant, and the waitress, I talked to her, and she was going to nursing school and working and going to school, and I was very inspired by her, and I gave her a really big tip. And I'm leaving, and then she saw the tip, and she came over and just gave me the biggest hug, and she said, "Oh, thank you so much." And it was like it blessed me, right? I felt like I was the receiver. And so and then the fourth I got later in the process of receiving, because it's like lots of times I noticed, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, you know how you kind of dismiss.
Oh, yeah.
And I realized that giving and receiving it's part of the circle. And if you stop the receiving, you're stopping the flow of good that you can continue to be a blessing for someone else. So, but let me tell you what happened in that year of giving. This is incredible. So the first thing I learned was that, every day doing those practices, right? I was happier. Your well-being is so much elevated when you're living that way, your vibration. So you're happier. So I was like, okay, good. Wow, this is amazing. Plus I was going through menopause. So that's kind of,
Always fun.
that's a miracle.
Heck yeah.
But then and then in generosity increases my faith. And I'd always wanted to start my foundation, but I'm thinking, who's going to pay me money to ask them to give money, right? How am I going to learn? How am I going to earn money as a single woman at that point? And I was talking to my friend and I said, I feel like I need to do this full time. I want to start this foundation. And she said, I want to help you. And she got some other people together and they contributed so that I could start my foundation, which is something my heart longed for, but I didn't have the courage. And then the next thing, I was speaking at an event about generosity. And afterwards, I went back to the table, and there was a man I had met through Transformational Leadership Council. And he's like, oh, wow, I've never heard of anybody talk about generosity like you. And I'm so inspired. I wrote a donation to your foundation. And I'm thinking, I like this guy. And so he said, let's have lunch. And literally, Amber, and then he said, let's have dinner. And he lived in Washington. I lived in LA, but we started connecting. And in a very short period of time, I knew he was my person. And I'd been single for over a decade. I really wanted to find a man who had the same values. But it all happened during my year of giving. I think that's quite extraordinary. I don't think that's just by chance that I met the love of my life, started my foundation, my heartfelt desire. Those are the two biggest. It's like, wow, this stuff works.
Heck yeah. So you're not just talking about it, you're living it.
I'm living it. And then going through with that diagnosis. And, it was like what it did. Generosity doesn't take away the challenges, but it informs and impacts the way you move through them. And so it became a part of my spiritual practice, generosity and gratitude. And I just moved through it so much more gracefully. So it's very, very powerful. It's very powerful.
Hey, I'm Austin Yule, co-host of the Heart Leader podcast and one of the founders of Suivera, the organization that powers the Heart Leader podcast. And I'm so excited to share today that not only did we get nominated for an Anthem Award this year, but we actually won bronze in diversity, equity, inclusion for best use of AI tech. We're so excited. This is such a unique project, and this is all focused on heart-centered technology. If this interests you and you'd love to learn more, click the link below, and we'd love to see you get involved, whether it's being part of the community or helping us shape this incredible project.
I completely agree. Now, I know when I speak about gratitude as a practice, you go into it deeply with generosity, which I think it's so expansive in gratitude. But often some of the feedback I'll get is, well, that's so simple. That can't be an answer because that's just too simple. And we as people like to make everything very complicated, right? That just seems to be our tendency sometimes. So what would you say to someone who feels like it can't be that easy, Cynthia? It can't just be that simple that if I'm grateful for things in my life and I start applying generosity, that my life will suddenly seem better?
So great question. And there's many, many things. First off, there is more scientific evidence now behind this. It's not just the spiritual teachers and philosophers that have been talking about it. There's literally, if you could bottle the power of generosity, you would be a billionaire. So in my book, and I've literally just finished the draft, right? So it's going to be a while before it comes out, but it's I've got all the research. There's so much research that proves, it increases your longevity. It makes you happier. The list goes on and on. And in my book, I call it a 21-day experiment. So I would say, try it. And that's really what my book is about, to get people to experiment with generosity, which of course includes gratitude. Just try it on. And it's not about being grandiose. It could be literally, giving a tip, right? Being generous, letting somebody pull out in front of you when you're driving. These aren't big things, but it's a way of being. And the reason I'm so turned on by it is because my life has completely transformed. And I've now, through my foundation, worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are generous. And do you know what they say to me? Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to give, because it touches their heart. So for anybody who feels cynical, I just invite them to give it a try, experiment, notice, how do you feel? If you feel inspired to do something, What was it recently? There was something I was inspired to. There's so many things, and I always really try to track it. But I mean, one of them is like going. Went to visit a friend whose husband had just recently passed, and it's just like it's in the book. The theme is finding what's yours to do, and you can find what's yours to do through generosity. Right. So you could feel like this world, there's so many problems. What's mine to do? And so go, okay, well, what am I feeling inspired to do? What am I like, what comes forward? And then you say yes to it. And then you can kind of see how it unfolds. And let me give you a story that I think is very powerful. This is kind of more of an extreme story, but it's really, really, really powerful. So Daryl Davis was a musician, and he's African American. And so he was playing at this like honky tonk somewhere in the South. And this man came up and was talking to him. And and a friend was there with him. And after he left, the guy that was a friend of his said, "Oh, that guy's the head of the Ku Klux Klan." And he's like, "Really?" And so he ended up going and meeting with him. And the guy flat out told him that he thinks, he's inferior because of his race. But Daryl, the musician, didn't take offense by it, which I think is really extraordinary. He was curious and he listened. And he even went to KKK rallies, sitting in the front row, like, at risk of death. Black guy going to a KKK rally, come on, and sitting with his friend. And basically over 220 of the KKK members quit doing that and literally gave their robes to Daryl. And it was because of how he was with it. He respected them. He was able to hear them and not, we were just talking about that, right? Like hear them and not like defend, and which I think is extraordinary. And literally it changed so many people's lives. That's generosity at like plus, plus, plus. Isn't that an amazing story?
That's incredible. And that's also knowing who you are. And because you know who you are at your core, you can be generous of spirit, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be big. I think that's the key. Sometimes we think it's these grandiose gestures. You have to have a lot of money. It's really not even about money. It isn't. Money is one form of which you can be generous. And it's a way I love being generous with money. I love it. It's awesome. But there's so many other ways to be generous too. And, like just caring. And I mean, I have very specific things that I do to be generous regularly. And it just makes me happy.
And I know when you spoke to me about your book, The Generosity Effect, you navigate through the 4 pillars and you do look at it very much like an experiment. And you talk about the fact that there are all of these ways to be generous.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the experiment is finding the ways that really resonate with you. And so it's nice to have this guide that helps you find what fits for you. And so I was thinking, hey, maybe as a community, the Heart Leader community, since our whole focus is being led by our hearts in how we lead our lives, as a community, once the book is available, maybe we pick it up. And
that'd be fun. We'll go through it together.
Right? Yeah, I think it would be a fantastic, like, hey, how's this going for you? What is resonating with you? Where is it at? So
right.
You gotta let us know exactly when it releases.
Oh, I will.
So that we can just pick it up. And those of us who want to do like a global book club kind of feel, right? We just all pick it up and kind of navigate through it together. And we can do it in our Suivera community that we have going on. And I believe you're in there. So heck, maybe we can
I
have
am.
you chime in there and say, hey, how's it going, guys?
Well, I would love to do it. And I think a goal is to be a generous giver and receiver. I think they're equally important because, and again, we don't give to get. So that's an important piece of it. You're not giving so you'll receive. But when it comes to you to graciously receive, if you just do that, it'll change your life. And looking at, well, why am I resistant? And it's lots of times it's a lack of worthiness. Like when I had all those friends praying for me, I was so humble and I had to be willing to open my heart. And I think that's one reason I healed. I took in all the love. I took care of myself. Got closer to God. It's like I was just an open channel, and I even noticed myself sometimes, like I was speaking and somebody gave me a compliment and my initial reaction was to like, oh, and then I'm like, no, stop that. Even me, you know what I mean? So it's like, we are so programmed on feeling, or at least I was raised to be humble, that kind of thing. So, but it's like when you're receiving, you're giving people. So this is a good thing. So, Mother Teresa, a great story. She was telling a story about this man who was a beggar and came up to her and said, Mother Teresa, like you give to so many people, or, you're helping so many people through your charity. And I want to give to you just because of who you are and how you're blessing me. And he's like, had like 2 pence or something. There was very, very small amount of money. And she was thinking, if I take it from him, he might not eat tonight. And if I don't, it might harm him. So she decided to receive that gift. And she said, the look on his face of all the people that had donated money to her charity, millions, the look of joy and like dignity that she received from him, right? And she received from him, she said was priceless. And I think that's a great, great story. It's like when we receive, we are actually giving the other, the giver, the blessing of giving. So it's like, I had another story. My girlfriend used to always come and stay with our little girls, the dogs, Pomeranians. And she's retired, on a fixed income. And we get home after this week-long trip and she has a present for me. And she bought me a cookbook. And my initial thought was, I don't need a cookbook. I've got like 25, right? But the deeper thing was, I don't need anything. I don't want you to spend your money on me, right? Like, you don't have that much money. And I didn't say that, but I'm like, oh, you don't have to buy me gifts. That's what I said. And she says, Cynthia, it makes me feel good to be able to give you things. Just like you're so generous with me, I want to be generous with you. And I thought, of course she does. Like, I love being generous with my friends too. That makes me happy. And it's like, I was depriving her initially of, oh no, don't give me anything. But to receive it graciously gave her a gift.
And that's such a valuable tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's like to flip that script and always remember to put ourselves in the giver's shoes and remember how much we love to give. And if the receiver was like, oh, no, how that makes us feel. It's almost like a personal rejection, right? So if we are doing that, even if it's out of kindness or just that desire to say, you're enough for me. Because in the times that I did it, that was my message, or my intended message is, I don't need material. You're all I need. But unintentionally, what I was doing was saying, you're not what I need, because their desired gift was the material gift. We don't always convey the message we intend. So,
Right. Well, yeah. But now that we know, right? All of a sudden, now that I realize that when somebody wants to give me something and I realize I know how much I love giving, if I can, I'm giving it back to them by graciously and generously receiving, I'm giving them a gift. And it kind of shifts it. It's like, okay.
whew, such a great tool.
It is.
Not to completely shift, but to me, it's all under the same umbrella because it is such a generous act of your spirit. You also have an amazing organization that you have set up called the Unstoppable Foundation. And I want to make certain our organization and our community knows about your organization and all that you do to help the world. And you even wrote a book called Unstoppable. So this is part of your soul and like just the generous nature of who you are. Can you share a little bit about that?
I would love to. So the story behind it was I was invited out of the blue to go to this conference in rural Kenya. And I knew one person that was going, the one that invited me. I really didn't really know why they were coming, except they were coming together to share their stories. And I'm sure you felt this before, this nudge, like you should say yes to this. And it made no sense. I had to like rearrange my schedule, book the flight last minute, flew over there and was with 40 women from North America. And we went to this conference in Kenya where women from all over, many of them walked, some of them with a baby on their back, all coming looking for solutions. And I sat in the audience and in the beginning, I felt such deep, deep compassion. And then I just started to get pissed off. Like, how is this okay? That just by virtue of where you're born, that they're having to deal with, their daughters are fetching water and the kids are dying from, dirty water, and they're praying their kids get an education, like all of these things. And I'm like, this is not okay. And then there was this voice going on in my mind that says, you should do something about this. And then there was an immediate, much louder voice that said, who are you? Seriously, this problem's been going on longer than you've been on the planet. What could you really do? And so I spent the week with them. I literally fell in love with them. I felt like I was in heaven. And it was like literally in our rooms, we had roaches the size of shoes. We had mosquito nets with big old holes in them. But I felt like I was in heaven because I felt so connected to them. And so when we were leaving, I just kind of put that idea in the back burner. And they gathered around and they started chanting. And I said to the interpreter, what are they saying? And he said, they're saying, please don't forget us. I know. I'm like, great.
Right to the heart. Yeah.
Exactly. So I came home and I talked to my friend. I don't know if you ever knew Debbie Ford. She wrote Dark Side of the Light Chaser, an incredible human, dear friend. And her son, for his bar mitzvah, threw a fundraiser to build a school in Uganda. And I literally sat up on that couch and I thought, that's what I'm going to do. And I was turning 50 and I turned my 50th birthday into a fundraiser. And Debbie came and Bob Proctor came and Mary Morrissey and all of these people, because I'm in the personal development industry. And we raised $80,000 and we were able to build 2 schools. And again, people were thanking me. It was like, this is the best birthday party I've ever been to. And I thought, wow, if I could do that in one night, what could I do if I really put my heart and soul into it? So that was kind of the inception of it, the concept of it. And, now we've impacted over 500,000 people. So we've we've, building a school is not enough, right? So when you really look at what's the problem, education, clean water, access to healthcare, access to nutritious food, the ability to earn an income for the parents. And now we're like even next level of leadership. It's self-leadership. It's like the thinking, the poverty consciousness, which many people even in North America have, right? And I've certainly had it in my life. But really now we're working to develop leaders, that have a purpose and live from possibility and can take care of their families and their communities and create their own ripples. Right. So that's what we do. That's what we're doing. And we have like I said, we have so many people who are so grateful to be part of this work. And I feel the same way, and my entire team does. So that's what we do.
It is talk about gratitude and generosity of spirit. How I came to know you was first by exploring your organization and what you do there. And my soul lit up. I knew that there was such a synergy just between the spirit of what our organizations did. And then I got the gift of knowing you and just how expansive your spirit as a whole is. And while it is generous in nature to what your projects are there, your spirit knows no bounds and is just generous to humanity as a whole, right? I just want to help everyone. And here's the generosity effect. And here's a way that you can be in service that way. But I would also encourage individuals to explore what you're doing with the Unstoppable Foundation and the impact you're making there. It is heart opening and mind blowing. And if they feel the generosity effect and they would like to get involved, how can they do that?
Well, thank you. So they can go to unstoppablefoundation.org and they can learn all about our work. And then as far as the generosity effect, I had some I can't even remember the sign up page. I'll give you a link and you can tell them about it later. It tells you I'm unprepared for that. But we have the 4 habits and a poster kind of a thing put together. I'd love to give. So people could have that, and it's right there in case they couldn't take notes during this, but I'd be happy to share that. Yeah, I can't remember what the link is.
That's quite all right. Yeah, we'll just put it in the show notes wherever somebody is listening to this. Let's make it as easy as possible. They drop down. There'll be a link to the Unstoppable Foundation. There'll be a link to anything that they would like to donate. And actually, we can just send them right over to your website for the generosity effect, because I think it's available there, right? So
Well, the generosity effect website's not up. It's cynthiakersey.com. And I think it's, can you believe that? I don't remember this is a part of the, I don't want to make up any excuses, but my short-term memory is not that great. And long-term.
It's quite all right. You know what? You had just finished writing your book. I have a feeling your entire focus has been pretty much on running a really large nonprofit organization and finishing a book. You can't remember everything.
You're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I'll get it to you immediately after this so you can have it.
Yeah, that's perfect. And it's easier for anybody listening to this too, because then they don't have to remember it as they're listening to this and doing 5 other things too. They just drop down and they click and they get to go right there, right?
Easy. I love it. There you go, Amber. That's awesome.
Exactly how it goes. Now, do you have a target date for the release of your book?
Such a good question. I just literally talked to the editor today. It's going to be long. It's going to be next year, mid at the earliest. So it's going to be, but you know what? I'm not going to wait till the book comes out. I want to continue to do things, right? So we will brainstorm what we can do and even build to when it comes out. But I'm so committed to this. This is literally, when you get diagnosed with something that's very severe, you have to decide, do you really want to stay on the planet? And I know that might sound crazy, but I did. I had to decide that. And even though I have a great life and a great husband and great kids and great friends, but it's really this work is my soul's calling. So we'll do something even before the book comes out, because it's too important, and it really is so transformative and so simple. So simple and so powerful.
Yes, it is. Yes, 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 it is. And you just keep us informed all along the way so that we can share it out and we can all take advantage in the best possible way, not in a we're just going to soak it in without giving back. This is the reciprocity of generosity, right?
Well, that's where it works. That's the secret sauce, right? It's like when you're doing it, and that's why I call it an experiment, a 21-day experiment. It's like 21 days, just do one thing every day. And I go through different ideas, like you mentioned. I have a story every single day about somebody who gave in a specific way and how powerful it was. So my goal is that people are inspired and to live the miraculous life of generosity. And when I say miraculous, I'm not overstating it. We create miracles for ourselves, we create miracles for others. And the ripple effect, for literally, there's something called moral elevation. Just witnessing an act of generosity inspires people. It helps them, want to be a better person. And it's like, it's the six degrees. You've heard that of separation. There's 3 degrees of separation. So for every generous act, every kind act that I do, it goes 3 to 3 people. And then those 3 people, it goes to 3 people. And the ripple effect of generosity is so powerful. The ripple in our own lives, and then how it ripples out into the world.
And that's how we change the world. We all consistently ask, okay, how could I possibly change the world? Well, there you go.
And you look for what's yours to do, right? And
Yeah.
Daryl Davis had a big what's yours to do, right? That to have that courage to really befriend somebody who was completely different than, and to the point where the guy just didn't even respect him, but it was his to do, to connect with him, to create a bridge. And it transformed so many people, thousands of people.
I know you had said to a team of us on a call that we were having, one of the key things to always ask yourself, and what I ask myself, is what's yours to do? And our team picked that up as our mantra, our little team mantra, right? Okay, we always have to ask, what is ours to do? Not that the other things aren't important. Everything has a level of importance, but what is ours to do? And if it's not ours to do and it's meant to be done, it will be picked up by somebody else. But let's not take what's theirs to do as what's ours to do, right?
And the other piece to that is, and I've had this before, I was on some TV show, and this guy, who you would probably know who he is, but he's like, and David, my chairman of the board for my board, he invited me to do this thing. And he's like, and so the guy knew about my foundation, and he's like, oh, but do you do anything for veterans? Like, completely poo-pooed what I was doing. And I said, I don't. I really don't have any. I think they're fabulous, but I don't have a connection with that. I said, it sounds like that's yours to do. Just put it right back on him, because it's like, and it happens a lot. People don't want to do. So they'll find somebody who's doing something, and it's like, well, why don't you do this? Why are you in Africa? Because I feel called to do that. It's not the only thing that I do. I'm generous in a lot of different areas, but I'm called to that. So we are the ones, we are the highest authority of what is ours to do. and to listen to it. And is again, I think it's spirit speaking through us, telling us, like guiding us. We can feel it in our hearts, but we're not meant to do everything. We can't.
That's another motto that plays on my head. Just because I can do something doesn't mean I should do something.
Exactly. Now that's good. And it's like what Mother Teresa says, it's like, you don't have to do a lot. It's just doing little things with love.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your heart, your soul, and the generosity of your time with us, right? To me, time is the one thing we cannot create more of on this planet, right? Once we've shared it, it is the gift that is the greatest gift we can give. So the fact that you just shared time with me and with our organization, that's amazing. And now our community gets to benefit. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I so honor and respect and acknowledge you. And I mean, immediately I fell in love with you. I told you that. It's like immediately your heart is so big and so beautiful. And the community that you've created, it's Suivera, it's amazing. And it's very unique. So I look forward to meeting the members of the community even more and playing with you in a way that will serve them even more. And just appreciate you so very, very much.
Thank you. I receive every ounce of that with tons of love. Yay.